One question I get a lot from job seekers is, Emily, should I quit my job without having something lined up? Oftentimes, they describe their current workplace being toxic, unbearable, and they just can't wait to get out of there. But at the same time, they're conflicted because they don't have an offer lined up. So in this video today, I want to really break down the 3 must-follow tips and strategies when it comes to deciding whether or not you should jump ship without something to fall back on. I personally believe that everyone has very unique situations and circumstances, and this isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. So the most important thing is to make sure that you don't ask everybody around you, your friends, your family, your peers, your coworkers, for their advice, because they're not you. And quite frankly, you're going to get a variety of answers all across the spectrum, and it's going to leave you feeling really confused. The most important thing that you can do is answer this very question for yourself. This is your career, this is your life, this is a decision that can only come from you. But in this video, again, I'm going to be walking you through 3 of the must-follow steps and actions if you decide this is something that I really want to do. Before we dive in, I just wanted to say welcome back to my channel. For those that are new to me, my name is Emily Liu, and I'm a career happiness coach. I basically help job seekers position themselves as the top 1% of candidates out there so that they can land their dream jobs. For fresh career advice and the freshest job search strategies, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I release a new video every Thursday. All right, without further ado, let's dive in. So step 1 is very practical, and that is to make sure that you assess what your financial needs are. And I'm not talking about nice to haves. You can have a little bit of that sprinkled in, but I'm really talking about what are your true monthly expenses to be able to sustain your current cost of living and to survive in this economy. We all know that it's nice to make a 6-figure salary, but when it comes down to it, very few of us actually really need a 6-figure salary. When we can get clear on what our true monthly expense number is, it actually frees us up quite a bit because we recognize now that we can survive and live temporarily on a lot less than what we're used to. So what you really want to do in this step is to calculate, here are all of my monthly expenses, here's what I really need to survive and to live comfortably and enjoy the little things that I like to do. Maybe it's going to a movie once a month, right? We're not going to deprive ourselves of everything out there, but I want you to get really, really clear and intentional. What is that monthly minimum that I need? Because here's the thing, is when you have that number in mind, you can start to think more rationally around, do I have this amount saved up for the next 6 months, right? Not to say that your job search can take 6 months. I have a lot of clients who find their jobs in 3 months or less, but I want to say that the average these days is 3 months to 6 months. Also, it's good to give yourself cushion because a lot of companies are being ultra selective in their hiring process. Their hiring process has slowed down considerably. We used to be able to get interviews in week 1 and sign an offer in week 4, but now it's like your phone interview is scheduled in week 4 and sometimes the on-site interview is delayed to week 12. Crazy, right? But it happens. So I just want you to make sure that you know what is your monthly expenses. Do you have enough to survive for the next 6 months? And if not, that's okay. The second part of this question is then assessing how can I generate that monthly revenue or income in some form or stream so that if I really do want to leave, I know that I'm not digging myself a hole of debt and waiting and praying that a dream job is going to land in my lap. It's really going to be intentional around what it is that you need to create so that you can take off the financial stress of how am I going to pay my bill this month, right? How am I going to make rent? I also want to share that there's nothing wrong with taking gig economy jobs. Whether you have to Uber, you have to be a barista, you have to be a bartender, you have to walk dogs. It's totally fine and acceptable if that's what it takes for you to leave your current situation and have this peace of mind that everything is going to be okay from a financial perspective. So really take this moment and go through all of your finances. I know it's a lot of work and it's not the most fun. So put on some music, grab an Excel sheet, take a look at all of your credit card statements, all of your bills that you've been paying, and really calculate out that monthly budget that you realistically need. And again, the second part is to make sure that you can survive on that for the next 6 months and or make up for the amount of money that you would be losing so that you can cover your necessities. So really come up with a game plan, because that will help you think more logically on whether or not this is something that is doable for you. By the way, if the answer is no, that you cannot afford to leave your current job without something lined up, then I highly recommend you check out the suggested video here, which is the 4 tips to stay motivated during your job search. Now, if you're saying, yes, I can financially do this, I feel really good about this, it's time to move on to step 2, which is really discerning the voice between your ego and your higher self. We all have these 2 voices in our lives right now, and we can access them at any time. What's really important is to make sure that we understand which voice is speaking to us, because they are very distinct and different. As you can see on the left here, the ego is a very logical, fear-driven part of your brain. It might ask things like, are you sure you can find a job? What if no one wants to hire you? What will your friends and family think? It's often focused on scarcity and lack, and it provides a sense of protection for us. My ego once told me things like, don't quit, you don't want to explain your short stint. Or don't quit, you'll look foolish. As you can see, this ego voice was very fear-focused, very anxious. It sounds very binary, very black and white. It always asks close-ended questions or states close-ended things. It's really focused on the problem rather than the solution. So let's take a look at what the higher self would say instead. Your higher self is the version of you that can access intuition, abundance, and self-trust. Whenever I make higher self decisions, fears and concerns of not being able to land a job don't actually cross my mind at all, because deep down inside, I know I'm good enough to find an employer who values me. And as long as there are businesses operating, there's a demand for my skills. It steers away from drama and looks at things very objectively and in a much calmer sense. My higher self is focused on possibilities. It asks open-ended questions like, how can you find a way to replace your income as quickly as possible? Let me know in the comment box down below what your ego versus your higher self states to you. Now it's time to move on to step 3 of the process, which is to actually put a safety net in place. At this stage, perhaps you're thinking, Emily, I'm ready to make that leap of faith. I know that I really want to quit my job. I have enough financial security in place. I still want to make sure that you have in your mind a safety net in place, just like a tightroper, right? That's walking along this thin line for the very first time above ground. They want to make sure that they're being caught in case they fall. This isn't to scare you by any means, but I believe that when you have a safety net ready, you're more willing to take the steps that you need and the action required to get to where you want to be. So the safety net could look very different for everyone. I know when I quit my job without a fallback plan, I told myself my boss from a previous organization has offered me the ability to contract anytime. That to me was a safety cushion. I have other clients who tell me, worst case scenario, I just live with my parents for a couple of months. That's okay. I love my mom's home cooking. So it's really up to you and what that looks like. Again, everybody's background and situation is different, but I just want you to make sure that you have a safety net in place that's really intentional and thought out. It doesn't have to mean this is exactly what I'm going to do. It's just, here's an emergency in case of, I know I'm still going to be okay no matter what. Whatever your safety net is, really ground yourself in that. And finally, I want to share that there's nothing wrong with quitting your job. You are no less valuable, no less worthy of another job just because you voluntarily resigned. I truly believe that everybody has very different circumstances, very different situations. I personally have voluntarily quit twice without having something to fall back on, because for me to stay in that work environment was just more damaging than missing out on a couple of paychecks. But again, I went through the steps to make sure that it was something that I was able to do, and it was the best decision for me in that moment. Also really tricky is sometimes our ego holds us back a lot from going after what it is that we truly want and need. So really make sure that you are able to discern these 2 voices, because oftentimes when we are driven by our ego and we're following our ego, it's not necessarily the most rational thoughts, even though it sounds the most logical. And the best way to probe that is really just asking, is it 100% true that I'm not going to ever find a job again, right? Really take a look at what your ego thoughts are and really ask yourself, is this 100% true? Because oftentimes it comes up for us. It is the loudest voice that we hear internally, but oftentimes it's really there just to protect us from fear and discomfort and pain and humiliation. Yet at the same time, a lot of these things that we are running away from are completely achievable. My favorite Jack Canfield quote is, "Everything we want is on the other side of fear." So again, making sure you have a safety net in place, making sure you're coming from your higher self, your intuition is crucially important so that you can take that leap of faith and just know that you're going to be okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, share if you found it helpful. And again, do what is best for you, not what other people think you should do or tell you what to do or don't do. This is really, again, your life and your career. Until then, continue to cultivate your career, and I'll see you next time.